I am 35 years old and infertile. We made every effort to become parents, but my ex-husband and I were never successful. After divorcing me, he wed a younger woman who could bear him a child, and based on what I've heard, they are expecting a second child together. Seeing someone else have something I couldn't hurts like hell. I blame myself for everything sometimes, getting irritated with both my family and myself. I went to my pals, notably Alicia, for help. She shares my situation with infertility, but she and her spouse are undergoing IVF right now in the hopes that it will be successful. I was requested by Alicia to assist with the cost of her next IVF cycle. I promised to give her a $12,000 check. There were no conditions tied to the money, and I truly wanted to help her. Last week, I wrote the check and presented it to her. She was really grateful for it. The following day, I received an unexpected message from Carol, one of our mutual friends, containing a snapshot of her chat with Alicia. She found out that Alicia and she had been discussing the upcoming IVF cycle. Alicia expressed her hope that the cycle would be successful because she didn't want to get divorced, have her husband marry someone younger, have a child with them, and then be left alone at 35 years old without a family. I was upset and in disbelief. I remained silent even though I knew she was referring to me. I just called the bank and asked them to cancel the check. When Alicia called me that evening, she wanted to know why I had canceled the check, so I explained. She lost her mind, claiming she didn't intend it that way and that she believed this was an internal joke amongst fertile and desperate women. The following day, she and her husband came over and begged me to write another check, but I declined. After a fight, her spouse felt that I wasn't supporting her in the same way that she had helped me through my hardships. She sobbed as she went, and we didn't speak again. Carol's husband is constantly telling me, referring to her as a poisonous snake, when the next cycle is due and that they won't be able to have it because I stole the money that was meant to pay for it back. Some friends feel that my sensitivity is too great. I feel horrible about instructing them to go kick rocks, even though Carol is on my side. My actions have the potential to sour our friendship of 15 years. Perhaps I shouldn't have cancelled it, but her remarks about me and the way she essentially made fun of my bad situation angered me so much. So, am I the fool here? Holy smokes, not the idiot. $12,000, no strings attached? Yeah, I'd be kissing your butt. You would even be my future kid's godparent, and I would wake up grateful for your existence every day. Bashing you to another friend behind your back? Heck no. I would be out there calling your praises from the rooftops. Alicia doesn't deserve your friendship, let alone your money. Opie, she damaged 15 years of friendship. She used you as the butt of an inside joke, despite knowing how hard this was for you. She hasn't taken any accountability for her wrongdoings, and she and her partner are blaming Carol for what she said. Their behavior afterwards shows no remorse, just bullying you and Carol. Manipulation via guilt tripping. Your friends can hand over their cash since they think you're oversensitive. You're not. Bullies always blame the victim, and it seems like you know a lot of them. So, how many others she shares that joke with? You'll never know. Did they support you through your struggles with no strings attached money? If they did, then I'd say give them back exactly what they gave you and tell them you're done with them. On the other hand, if they offered emotional support, then that's what they can expect back. Even if you were to turn around and write them another $12,000 check, your friendship is forever ruined. Just keep your money. You can make more, better friends. It sounds like Carol was looking out for you. There are others out there who are not two-faced like Alicia is. I was recently a bridesmaid for my best friend, her only bridesmaid. So many of her bridal duties fell to me. We've been best friends since I was a teen, so I was fine with all this work. Quick info, I have health issues that lead to extreme fatigue as a symptom. The day before the wedding, I basically single-handedly set up her reception while she talked with some family and friends, which was fine. As I was wrapping up, she told me she needed my help sewing a button on her wedding dress, as her aunt hadn't fully finished the alterations. I told her, of course, I'd do this, and she said she'd call up her aunt to walk me through what needed to be done. I had a bad feeling about this, as it's only a button that hardly needs a walkthrough, but I put it down to my best friend being overly worried, as it's her wedding dress. It wasn't one button. I got to her home, and we got on the phone with her aunt. It's 6 buttons, the clasp to attach her cloak which needed to be hemmed, and the corset lacing required adjusting. I was angry, but not at my friend. I figured she didn't know how bad it was. It had been her aunt's job to alter the dress a little. Quick info, she bought a cheap dress, figuring aunt could alter it. I fixed the dress, having to stay up until 3 a.m. to do so. Then I had to be up at 6 a.m. to be ready for the wedding. We made it through the wedding, and basically the only thing that was keeping me going was her promise that I could go back and nap before the reception this evening because there were a few hours between lunch and the reception. After we were ready for the wedding, my friend told me she forgot to ask me to do this yesterday and asked if I'd sew Marvel patches on her garter belt for her as a surprise for her fiancé. I agreed, albeit unhappily, as my hands were in agony from sewing into the early morning. But then plans changed, and she needs me to stay with her and not go back to nap. So, I stay, as I don't want to leave her alone and drink way too much coffee to try and remain semi-human, even though my body aches and I'm exhausted. Despite this, I'm struggling to stay awake at the reception and manage until the food is served and eaten and the first dance happens. I figure I've seen all the important parts and go to my friend, telling her I need to go home now to sleep, as I literally cannot stay upright anymore. She got upset at me, saying how I wasn't allowed to leave and she needed me by her side. How I was her only bridesmaid, so I had to stay until the very end in case she needed me, and how I needed to greet guests who turned up late. I got upset at this and told her to get over herself, pointing out all that I had done for her and that I loved her, but there were limits with my health concerns. So I left and slept for about 14 hours, waking up the next day with a migraine and various aches. She's upset, thinking I ruined her day and that I'm selfish for not putting her first, that I was needed by her side, and how a real friend would prioritize her day. So am I the idiot for leaving early? Not the moron, and I promise you escaped another late night as head of the cleanup crew. She wrecked her day by using and abusing you as a seamstress, wedding designer, planner, and a blasted doorman in greeting. You didn't spoil her day. Pardon me, but which crew? It would have been her alone. I also had one bridesmaid when I got married. She genuinely helped carry my bouquet and engagement ring down the aisle until I removed them. I would have made far better use of my virtual slave for the day if I had known. Neither the garter nor the dress should have been left until the last minute. She may have invited her mother, aunt, or other friends to welcome the late guests, and she ought to have requested some groomsmen or friends to assist with setup. It is ridiculous to expect one person to accomplish all of that when all she needed to do was smile and enjoy herself. This person is not someone I would consider a friend. My younger son is 22, and the older one is 27. I'm close to both of them. The older one is married, and his wife is pregnant. They both have good jobs and own their own home. However, she makes more money than him and is currently on maternity leave. My younger son is a student teacher. He loves what he does, but finances are tight for him. If he bought a house, the mortgage payment would be less than his rent, and he'd be building equity. Although this is his dream right now, he can't get approved because of income, and he needs more saved for a down payment, plus closing costs. I told my son that I would co-sign his loan because I knew he'd be able to pay, as he always pays his rent. I also said I would pay $8,000 towards his down payment, leaving him with probably just a few thousand more of the down payment and then the closing cost. My family thinks I'm showing favoritism to my younger son. When my older son and his wife bought their house, they received no financial assistance from me. This is true, but they quickly qualified for their loan and didn't need a cosigner because of their dual incomes. They had the money saved for their down payment and closing and didn't need the help from me. I gifted them antique furniture that belonged to my mother and bought them a washer and dryer. I don't know the value of the furniture, but the washer and dryer set was over $2,000. My family said I should split the $8,000 and give half to my older son and his wife for the baby and half to my younger for his house. I remember how expensive babies are, but I don't think they need that $4,000. My daughter-in-law will open an education savings account for the baby when she's born, and I intend to make annual contributions to that. Debt will be more beneficial in the long term then. A one-time gift of an unneeded $4,000 that'll just get spent on toys or baby furniture. Even so, my cousin's statement that my choice affects my relationship with my older son and future granddaughter alarmed me. I don't think in fairness for the sake of fairness, I think it's better to give when it's needed rather than always keeping accounts balanced. Am I missing something? Not that dumbass. Do not allow anyone to make you feel guilty for assisting your child. My parents have provided various forms of assistance to each of their children at different periods. I never took out the calculator to make sure I didn't receive more than my sibling. We are distinct individuals with unique experiences in various contexts. Fairness in the name of fairness is absurd. You are the foolish one. I don't think comparing a 27-year-old to a 22-year-old is really fair. When your older kid was 22, was he in a lot better position, or is he okay now that he's put in 5 years of hard work without assistance? You should talk to your oldest child and find out his thoughts. Your family is not incorrect to believe that this could be perceived as biased and lead to problems. Exactly. Furthermore, even though your 22-year-old son is still a student, why does he need to buy now? Isn't it better for him to hold off till he's employed and qualified? What happens if, after qualifying, he is unable to find employment within commuting distance or if an excellent opportunity arises in a different town or nation? I don't think it's a bad notion for you to want to support your kid, or your sons, but I do believe that getting married at 22 while still in school isn't always the smartest plan. He still has a lot of life left to experience and a lot of the world to see. Thus, hold on to the offer for a period of 5 to 10 years. I, a 19-year-old man, worked 4 days a week for a single mother, doing light housekeeping and childcare for 2 toddlers and a dog. The mother found my contact information on a business card that was displayed in my dad's pediatric therapy office. Ever since the temperature began to rise, the dog has been shedding copiously. For example, after I would vacuum the couch, it would appear as though I hadn't. Huge tufts of the dog's hair would come out when I gave it a gentle tug. The dog hasn't stopped scratching, etc. I packed my dad's dog's brushing tool in my suitcase one morning before I left for work because his dog had a double coat similar to theirs. I then brushed the dog outside for an hour while the kids were sleeping. After an hour, the dog appeared to love having its hair combed, as seen by the large amount of hair that remained after brushing. Thinking back, I realized maybe I should have asked first, but at the time, it seemed like something within the purview of care for the dog. So, before I vacuumed it up, I sent the mom what I thought would be an amusing text saying, "Brushed a whole new dog out of the dog's coat." The mother lost it. She yelled at me over the phone, accusing me of hurting the dog by brushing it instead of allowing the hair fall out naturally. She called me a fool, expressed shock that she had trusted me with her children, and informed me that this was my last day. I had only been with the family for 3 months, and Mom had never yelled at me in such a way, so I was furious. She was still in a rage when I left as soon as she got home. I got a job with another family right away, and I'm set to start on Monday. 2 days later, I received a call from the mom who had yelled at me, apologizing for any confusion and telling me that firing me was an overreaction. She broke down in tears as I informed her that I was no longer available, citing the difficulty in finding replacement sitters for children with special needs. Her children receive therapy at my dad's office as they have autism. She began contacting my dad, pleading with him to take action, but I kept my ground. My dad is irritated that I've been brought into this, and even though he respects my choice, he wants that I would continue to watch her kids for a little while to maintain harmony. I'm sorry if I've made anyone feel uncomfortable, but I also wouldn't want to work for someone who does that. Am I the foolish one? Edit, my father practices physical therapy. Not the fool at all. It's kind of bad of your dad to force this on you. As a therapist, he is blind to the risk posed by your mother's instability. I mean, God forbid anything ever go wrong with one of her kids if this is her response to something as simple as walking her dog. As an adult, charges against you may result in legal issues. Keep your distance from her. Op behaved in a perfectly regular and charming way with a puppy. It was a lot of effort for Op to do, but it made the dog feel so much more comfortable, and it was quite thoughtful of him. Dogs require brushing. I'm not sure why she believed that the dog's coat should just come off on its own. I can vacuum 3 times a day with my Akita. The dog may get hot patches if you don't brush it. You don't want to work for this person anymore. I wouldn't want to return to work and face accusations from her based on even more ludicrous views. When she realized there was a lot less fur about the home to clean up, she probably phoned him back to beg. She was abusive, it wasn't a misunderstanding. Defy your father's wishes to send you back for more in order to maintain harmony by refusing to back down and standing your ground. Avoid getting back on her awful behavior. Oh, and her actions put people in an unpleasant situation, not you. 5 years ago, my dad and my teenage mother separated. I live with my mom most of the time and spend a lot of weekends and summers at my dad's place, even though my parents shared 50-50 custody of me. At my dad's house, I have my own room that I am allowed to lock while I'm not there because when the 27-year-old lady he lives with first moved in, her 2 small children broke into my room and damaged some of my belongings. My dad fixed everything, informed her that I could not enter my room without my consent, and gave me a lock that only he and I could use. Despite his apparent happiness spending time with this woman and her children, my 47-year-old dad still finds time for me. I am his top priority. I got the old TV when he acquired a new one, and he put it up in my room. On the other hand, this woman enjoys hosting playdates with other mothers and their children. That's okay, she has every right to have visitors and perhaps she and my dad will tie the knot. Her expectation that I would monitor all the kids while she and her pals sat outside drinking wine or whatever is the source of the problem. She even attempted to leave them with me so she could go to brunch with her pals. Not acceptable. She needs to stop it, according to my dad. He informed me that while it would be great if I could help, I wasn't required to. I spent the long weekend at my dad's because I had yesterday and today off from school. It wasn't something I wanted to be around, my mom's party. I heard a knock when I was in my room. That's her and her 4 children. She wants me to keep them occupied while she chats with her pals. She insists and leaves the kids in my room when I answer, no, thank you. It begins with a pretty wedding, but kids are already bored because it's not a cartoon or a Marvel movie, so I say, I'm watching a movie. It's called Ready or Not, and it's kind of gory. Not super gross or anything, just not meant for little ones. A few minutes later, the gory starts, and the kids run to their mom. She storms back inside and accuses me of frightening the children. She threatens to take away my TV. After chuckling, I shut the door. She became enraged and called me a brat, telling my dad that my TV belonged in the kids' playroom. He declined, but after speaking with me, he stated I could have handled it more skillfully. He's disappointed, but not angry. To keep her kids out of my room, I used a scary movie. Am I the idiot for doing this? Not the fool. Overall, that's a mild method to deal with unwanted babysitting because your dad's spouse expects a free babysitter anytime you're there. She needs to discuss expectations for a blended family and set boundaries with your dad. Your dad should only be upset in himself for allowing his girlfriend to get away with what she does for this extended period of time. You are not her complimentary nanny. By being relentless and rejecting her father's and her own no, this lady believes she can force Op to do anything. Op knew better than to let her watch the movie, but in a perfect world, she would have told her to go see her father, turned around, and shut the door. The more inventive solutions Op comes up with, the more probable it is that something will go wrong and this woman will take advantage of it to establish her innocence.